When I was 17, my favorite thing to do after school was ride my bike deep into the woods behind our town reservoir. I lived in central Massachusetts, the kind of place where the forests feel endless and the houses are spaced far enough apart that once you leave the main road, it's just you and the trees. It started as something peaceful, that kind of freedom you only get as a teenager when you're too young to drive, but too old to sit at home. I had an old Red Trek mountain bike that squeaked every time I hit a bump. I'd bring a backpack with water, snacks, and a flashlight in case it got dark. One evening in late September, the air had that first bite of autumn, and I decided to take the old power line trail out past Lake Walden. It was longer than my usual route, a few miles into state-owned land. No houses, no cabins, no cell service. Just dirt, leaves, and silence. About an hour into my ride, I came across a trail I hadn't seen before, narrower than the others, but fresh tire tracks cut into the dirt. It looked new, like someone had cleared it recently. Curiosity got me. I turned onto it. The air felt different almost immediately, still, heavier. The trees stood closer together. The light dimmed even though sunset was still an hour away. The further I went, the quieter everything got. No birds, no bugs, not even the wind. Just the sound of my tires crunching through leaves. After a few minutes, I noticed something hanging from one of the branches, a small wooden sign, hand-carved. It said, "Private, turn back." It wasn't official looking, just scratched into the wood. I figured maybe some hunter didn't want kids trespassing. But I was cocky, and it was almost dark, so of course, I kept going. The trail wound downhill sharply, and at the bottom was what looked like an old shed. Rusted metal walls, half-collapsed roof. Someone had spray-painted "Keep Out" across one side, though it was so faded it could have been decades old. I stopped to drink some water, resting my bike against a tree. That's when I noticed it. A faint clicking noise coming from the woods. Like metal tapping against metal. Click, click, click. I froze, looking around. But the forest was thick. Too many trees, too many shadows. Then, from behind the shed, something moved. Just a glimpse. I spun around, my heart pounding. Nothing. Just the trees. I decided that was enough exploring for one day. I got on my bike and started pedaling hard back uphill. Halfway up, I looked over my shoulder. That's when I saw him. A man standing in the middle of the trail, half hidden in shadow. His clothes looked wrong. Torn, muddy, old-fashioned, like he'd crawled out of the ground. And he was holding something long and thin. I thought it was a branch until the light hit it. It was a piece of rusted wire. He wasn't moving, just watching me. I shouted something, I don't even remember what, and kept pedaling. I didn't look back again until I reached the main trail. When I finally did, he was gone. By the time I made it home, I convinced myself it was just some crazy hermit or a hunter trying to scare off trespassers. My parents laughed when I told them. "That's what you get for going off trail," my dad said. I didn't laugh. 2 days later, I decided to prove to myself that I'd just imagined it. I took the same route, this time earlier in the day. When I reached the fork where that smaller trail started, I almost didn't recognize it. The entrance was gone. No tire tracks, no cleared dirt, no broken branches, just untouched forest. I knew exactly where it should have been, but there was nothing there. It was like the trail had never existed. I went home feeling uneasy. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing that same faint clicking sound, like metal on metal, coming from outside my window. At first, I thought it was the wind brushing the rain gutter. But when I finally got up and looked out, my stomach dropped. Down at the edge of the yard, under the trees, was my red bike. It was leaned perfectly against the fence, and next to it, nailed into one of the wooden posts, was that same sign. "Private, turn back." I didn't tell anyone that time. I just dragged the bike inside and locked every door. For a week, nothing happened. I started to believe maybe someone was just messing with me. Maybe one of my friends had followed me that day and decided to freak me out. Then one night, I woke up to that same clicking sound again. Closer. This time, right outside my window. I pulled back the curtain just enough to see. There he was. The same man, standing by the window, staring up at me. The moonlight hit his face. His skin looked gray, like it didn't quite fit. His eyes didn't reflect the light at all, just empty black. He lifted his hand, and I saw he was holding the wire again. He was dragging it slowly across the glass. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I finally found the strength to scream for my dad. By the time he got there, the man was gone. The only sign he'd been there at all was the scratch across my window, a deep, perfect line. The police came. They walked through the woods, checked for footprints. They said they found none. The next morning, my bike was gone again. I never saw him after that night. But sometimes, when I'm driving late, out near those same woods, I still see a faint light between the trees, like a lantern swinging slowly. And when I pull over and roll down the window, I can still hear it. Click, 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 getting closer.